Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Freedom Factor. I did want to kind of get to this. I feel like I don't mean to beat the dead horse and continue on this. Really, it's not my intention to keep harping on the whole Israel and Iran situation and all that, but I recently watched the Tucker Carlson show from last week. Sorry, I'm a little behind on things because I'm busy. But the Tucker Carlson show last week, he had Ted Cruz on, and he quote unquote confronted Ted Cruz on a lot of things. And full disclosure, I mean, so I'm a recovering Republican turned libertarian, and I used to like Ted Cruz. After this interview, I've lost a lot of respect for Ted, just because of how he conducted himself, a lot of the lies that he told, a lot of the things. I mean, the guy he's a United States senator, and he misses the boat on a lot of things, and he displays some ignorance, and I'll get to why and what those are. So, yeah, this is bad. It really was bad. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna do the reaction to the Tucker Carlson Ted Cruz interview, because Tucker really just destroyed Ted Cruz, and I think it's quite amazing. So let's do the first clip.
For a long time, people had perceived two different poles of Republican foreign policy. There have been interventionists, and those have been people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham and George W. Bush. And there have been isolationists. And the most prominent of those have been Ron Paul and Rand Paul, and there are others. And people perceive those are the two choices. You got to be one or the other.
So yeah, that doesn't. Oof, rough. Ted doesn't understand the difference between interventionalism and isolationism, and that isolationism is not the opposite of interventionalism. An isolationist, to be perfectly honest, is somebody who doesn't want to. They isolate. They isolate. The key word: isolationism. Isolation. They want to isolate from everything else. They don't want to participate in the world or in the greater scheme of things. And so he doesn't understand that the opposite of interventionalism is not isolationism. Rand Paul and his father and Thomas Massey and people of that, and a lot of us libertarians, we're not isolationists, Ted. We are non-interventionalists. It's a huge difference. An isolationism is where you just isolate from the rest of the world. Non-intervention means you still relate with other countries. We still have trade. We still have international relations. We still dialogue. We still are, whatever, involved with the rest of the world. We just don't militarily get involved with everything. Okay? If Israel wants to start bombing Iran because of some perceived threat, that's not our problem. That's not our fight. That's non-interventionalism. So, yeah, there's that. But anyway, so there's the first one where he steps in it, and then let's talk about Israel, shall we? Let's talk about Israel, Ted.
But can you feel the frustration of people, including your voters, every American, at the emphasis on foreign countries and the threat we supposedly face, a lot of which is fake, obviously, over the kind of slowly unfolding tragedy of what's happening to our country. The dollars spent, the aid packages to Ukraine to pay the retirement of civil servants in a country that we have nothing to do with, the endless support for Israel, very expensive, when people are literally buying groceries on credit in the United States. Can you feel like it's nothing against Ukraine or Israel or any other country?
All right, let's stop. You said the support for Israel very expensive. How much support do we give to Israel?
Well, you tell me. You vote for it.
Yeah, it's about $3 billion a year is the military assistance.
Is that the only assistance?
Yeah, we just have military assistance. Israel does not have additional assistance. There's an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and it's $3 billion a year.
Point of contention here. So that's the clip there. it's actually 3.8 billion, so it's closer to 4 billion. Not to nitpick here, but Ted, being a member of the U.S. legislature, should know. And he says words matter. Numbers matter too, Ted. That is quite a bit, considering Israel is the largest recipient of U.S. foreign aid, military or otherwise, the world over. Like we give more money to Israel than any other country, and it isn't close. So yeah, I don't think Ted really has room to talk here. So here, speaking of, let's talk about Israel.
But I also think at this point, given where we are, it's fair to ask rational questions about what the benefits are.
Good.
So does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other. And I assume all of our allies spy on us.
And that's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian. You don't think humans are all... Part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs doesn't work. As a conservative, I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
In order to find his equal, an Irishman is forced to talk to God. Yes, Father. The Almighty says, don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
Mind you.
It's conservative to recognize that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us, and I'm not...
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that, and
by the way,
I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know. Hold on, I want to know your attitude. Yeah. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
I said guiding, the overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
It is in America's interest to be closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it. And you want to see the clearest...
But I just want to stop on the spying for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the President of the United States and several presidents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry. I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure.
And I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. Is that... It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
And he really doesn't. That's why I threw in the clip just to answer the question. He doesn't answer the question, and yeah, Ted just steps in it. Like, okay, so Israel spies on us, and that's okay? And he asks. Like, Tucker clearly asks, this is okay with you? And, like, why would we give money and then not be upset about a foreign government spying on us when we literally pay for their military, basically? I mean, really. So, anywho, speaking of Israel, let's talk about Ted's where Ted's incentive and motive lies.
Oh no, I'm hardly the one who's... I've never taken money from the Israel lobby. Have you?
Taken money from the Israel...
From AIPAC.
So AIPAC raises a lot of money for me, but it's actually a misnomer because the people who raise money are individuals. Right. So it's not the PAC itself, but they're individual members who believe in the American-Israeli friendship and relationship.
Is AIPAC a foreign lobby?
No, it's an American lobby. It's the AIPAC stands for the America-Israeli Political Action Committee.
What does it lobby for?
So, to be honest, not a whole lot effectively. Listen, I came...
Lie.
into Congress 13 years ago,
yes,
with the stated intention of being the leading defender of Israel in the United States Senate.
Great.
And I've worked every day to do that.
So Ted just admitted right here, he came into the Senate to be the leading defender of Israel. What? Why wouldn't you be the leading defender of America if you're going to work in the American Senate? That part I can't wrap my head around. Leading defender of a foreign government that is not the United States. I'm struggling with this one. That Ted, we see where his motives lie.
AIPAC, a lot of times, AIPAC, I wish were much more effective. Like, they're folks on.
Oh, I bet you do wish that, Ted.
But what do
online
they do?
who are in
I
the
thought they
fever
were
swamp of terrified of AIPAC. And AIPAC...
I'm not terrified of AIPAC at all. You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking
No,
this.
not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what AIPAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people who work at AIPAC, is that it lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Interesting reaction here by Tucker, where he's like, oh, okay. Well, they don't? They don't lobby on behalf of the Israeli government when they are the American Israeli Political Action Committee. Actually, I think it's, I think he's a little off. It's the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. It's a pro-Israel lobbying group. And like, yeah, like Ted, if you're going to talk about something, at least know what the hell you're talking about. So yeah, there's that whole AIPAC, issue there. And really, he dodges the questions completely. Anything relating to AIPAC, it's like he wants to minimize, AIPAC when they're one of the largest political action committees in America. In fact, since the 1960s, AIPAC has been pretty much nonpartisan. They've donated to both Democrats and Republicans, and have really lobbied pretty hard for Israel. So here, we'll get into this. This is where things get really contentious, and this is where I start to lose a lot of respect for Ted Cruz. So check this part out.
Well, the question is are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government to any extent?
Okay, that's
a really
different
simple
from
question.
lobbying on behalf of.
It's a simple question. Are AIPAC's goals shaped by the goals of the Israeli government? And I'm just going to ask you a question straightforwardly. And if you say no, I think we both know that's not true.
Hey, are they shaped by? Is that
Are they coordinating with the Israeli government?
Are they talking with them? Yes.
The Israeli
Israel
government?
directing them? You want to talk about FARA? The law on lobbying on behalf of someone.
Yeah.
It is, I hire you and you lobby on behalf of me. I direct you. Does Israel direct AIPAC? No, they are not lobbying on behalf of them. Do they care about them? Yes, but...
Do you think that, it's just interesting because what you're now describing in a very defensive way, I will say, is foreign influence over our politics.
No.
And you began, and it's so transparently obvious to everybody, I don't know why you would be embarrassed of it. You've said that you are sincerely for Israel. I believe you. I don't think you have some weird agenda. You seem to be sincere.
By the way, Tucker, it's a very weird thing. The obsession with Israel, when we're talking about foreign countries...
It's hardly an obsession.
You're not talking about Chinese. You're not talking about Japanese. You're not talking about the Brits. You're not talking about the French. The question, what about the Jews? What about the Jews?
Oh, I'm an anti-Semite now. Senator,
you're asking the questions, Tucker. You're asking, why are the Jews controlling our foreign policy?
Senator,
that's what you just asked.
Hardly saying that, and I have.
That is exactly what you just said.
Well, actually, I can speak for myself and tell you what I am saying.
Good.
On behalf not simply of myself, but on of my many Jewish friends who would have the same questions, which is to what extent, and it's interesting you're trying to derail my questions by calling me an anti-Semite, which you are.
I did not.
Of course you are. And rather than be honorable enough to say it right to my face, you are in a sleazy feline way implying it, or just asking questions about the Jews. I'm not asking questions about the Jews. There's nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. It has to do with the foreign government.
Isn't Israel controlling our foreign policy? That's not about the Jews?
You said, I'm asking you...
And by the way, you're the one that just called me, I think, a sleazy feline. So let's be clear.
It's sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite, which you just did.
No, I just said, why is that the only question you're asking? You answer it. Give me another reason. If you're not an anti-Semite, give me another reason why the obsession is Israel.
I am in no sense obsessed with Israel. We are on the brink of war with Iran. And so these are valid questions.
But you're not asking about Iran or the Ayatollah.
If I can finish, you asked me why I'm obsessed with Israel.
Yep.
3 minutes after telling me that when you first ran for Congress, you elucidated one of your main goals, which is to defend Israel.
Yes.
And I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel. I don't see a lawmaker's job as defending the interests of a foreign government, period. Any government, including the ones that my ancestors come from. So that's my position. That does not make me an anti-Semite. And shame on you for suggesting otherwise. And I mean that. And that's low, and you know it's low. So why don't you just answer my questions
I'll
in a
answer any
straightforward,
question you'd
rational
like.
way? You certainly have the IQ to do it. So
Shame on you is cute, by the way, Tucker.
it is. It's not cute. I'm offended. I'm obsessed with the Jews. You just told me
You
that
just called me a
ran-
sleazy feline.
It is sleazy to imply that I'm an anti-Semite for asking questions about how my government
You
is
want to
run.
count how many questions you asked about? What about the Jews? What about Israel? What about
I
AIPAC?
never asked about the Jews. I have. This has nothing to do with the Jews, whatever that means. This has to do with a foreign government. And once again, shame on you for conflating the two. They have nothing to do with each other. I'm talking about the influence
Israel
of
and
the
Jews have nothing to do with each other?
All Jews, or an attack on all Jews, which I am not, nor would I ever be undertaking now. I'm not attacking anybody.
By the way, that's who Iran wants to kill, is all the Jews and all the Americans.
And I'm totally opposed to that, okay?
This is why I lost so much respect for Ted. He basically is like, he is conflating. He's saying the Jews. Well, Tucker's just saying more broadly foreign governments, but sure, let's just label it the Jews, the Jewish lobby or whatever. No, Israel doesn't represent all Jews, and not all Jews are part of Israel. And that's where we get into, as a Christian, I get kind of upset that Ted doesn't understand this. This next part is really, it's frustrating because he doesn't understand the Bible, and Tucker calls him out on it as a Christian. Tucker gets a little off track, but it's okay because it's kind of a nuanced thing. But let's get into this and we can discuss this. This might, I'm not trying to turn anybody off that is not Christian, but this, as a Christian, this kind of matters to me. This is kind of important.
And I'm saying, whatever. I don't even like talking about Israel. What I care about, I never do, because it's not worth being called anti-Semites from AIPAC recipients. But now we are on the verge of joining a war, and I just want to be clear about why we're doing this.
All right, so, and let's get into Iran momentarily, but you suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago, that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And what you didn't ask is why, so let me tell you why.
No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that, like, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Okay,
I don't even think about Israel.
Tucker, words matter.
Uh-huh.
And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug ODs on the street.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution.
And also Israel. I love, first of all, I love the own that he says. I don't like talking about Israel because I don't want to be called anti-Semite by AIPAC recipients. Awesome own. That was brilliant right there. But then he says, like, Tucker makes a very good point that you shouldn't be running for political office to defend another country. You should be running for political office to take care of your own country. But I digress. Let's continue with this, because this is where things get off. Like, it angers me.
And you played a very, very careful word game of eliding.
You're the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, it says the nation of Israel.
Stop. No, it doesn't. It doesn't say the nation of Israel. It just says Israel. But anyway, continue.
So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
Well, hold on.
I'm not holding on.
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel, and what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But what? Hold on. Define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel. Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
And then here's where I have to interject because Ted doesn't know what Israel is biblically. It is not the nation of Israel. And in fact, in Romans 9:6, for not all who are descended from Israel are Israel. Paul distinguishes between physical descent and spiritual belonging. The idea of Israel is, and it goes back to the Old Testament with Jacob saying, like, Israel means one who struggles with God. It is someone who is trying to, spiritually belong to God. Someone who struggles to try and uplift that whole thing. That is what Israel is talking about. It is not talking about the nation state of Israel. The Bible does not command people to bless the nation state of Israel. And I'm sorry, but this may anger some Zionist Christians, but it's just my interpretation of things. I'm pretty sure that God does not command people to support a nation that bombs innocent civilians. I know people will argue and say, well, that's not their intended target. It doesn't matter. 80% of the deaths in the Gaza war are civilians. That is not the act of a good, pious, God-fearing people. Just saying. So here, let's continue.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
And by the way, it's not run by Benjamin Netanyahu as a dictator. It's a democratic country that elected.
Again, Ted is really, really bad at this. He's putting words in Tucker's mouth. It's not like how I paused it here. But Tucker never said that Benjamin Netanyahu is a dictator. He just said he's the prime minister. Like here he says.
Prime minister,
right?
What?
But just like, America is the country run by Donald Trump. No, actually, the American people elected Donald Trump. The same principle
This is
there.
silly. I'm talking about the political entity of modern Israel.
Yes, and that is
You believe
Israel.
that's what God was talking about in
Yes.
Genesis.
I do, but
That country's existed since when?
for thousands of years. Now, there was a time when it didn't exist, and then it was recreated just over 70 years ago.
I'm saying, I think most people understand that line in Genesis to refer to the Jewish people, God's chosen people.
That's not what it says.
Okay, Israel, but you don't even know where in the Bible it is. So I don't know if we can.
I don't remember the scriptural citation, but okay,
It's like Genesis 16 or something like that.
So yeah, it angers me that I really it makes me upset when Ted Cruz. So first of all, Tucker is incorrect in that Israel is not referring to God's chosen people, the Jews. It is talking about Israel, as in the Bible describes. There's a lot of uses of Israel within the Bible, and I'm not a biblical scholar, but I know a little bit. I mean, because it is my faith. But Israel doesn't just refer to the land of Israel. In fact, there's only a few references to the land itself. And it's kind of hilarious that, they basically say, like, it says, I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you, I will curse. and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. That is Genesis 12:3 actually. He's talking to I believe in Genesis 12:3 is Jacob. And I'm I'm not 100% on what all there, but so Genesis chapter 12, I believe it's Abraham, and he says that the Lord said from Abraham, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you." He's talking about the people, his people there, and he's talking to Abraham as a follower of God. So it's not so much, and it's not the current incantation, or not incantation, but it's not the current idea of Israel today that we know. Biblical Israel and modern Israel are two completely different things and concepts. But anywho, I digress. Yeah, Ted doesn't know about the Bible, and it's kind of shameful that he conflates the two. But then he goes, "Let's talk about Iran later." So here is some stuff that I have with what he says about Iran.
Iran, I think the most acute national security threat facing America right now is the threat of a nuclear Iran. I think China is the biggest long-term threat, but acute and near-term is a nuclear Iran.
Okay.
And I think Israel is doing a massive favor to America right now by trying to take out Iran's nuclear capacity. And the reason I view Iran differently, we talked before about Iraq. I opposed the Iraq war. We talked about Syria. I opposed military intervention in Syria. The reason for that is those did not pose a threat to the United States. I think Iran is markedly different. Number one, the Ayatollah is a religious zealot. He is a lunatic, but a particularly dangerous kind of lunatic, because he's driven by religious fervor. When he says death to America and death to Israel, I believe him. And I think Iran is trying to get a nuclear weapon because there is a very real possibility they would use a nuclear weapon. So you want to ask...
I've covered this in a previous video. Logically, that doesn't track. If Iran got a nuclear weapon, I don't honestly believe they would. Well, first of all, we'll get into this in a minute, but I don't believe they would actually use it. And then also, religious zealotry does not equate to malice. That's the one thing. So Ted views this as, if you're a religious zealot, that somehow you have ill intent, and that is logically unsound, because I know plenty of people who are religious zealots, people who have religious fervor, as he puts it. I go to church with a lot of these people who are very, very, very they're close adherents to their religious ideology. They live their life as close as they can. There are people, I know people who are Mormons who follow the Mormon tenets very closely. I know Muslims who follow Islamic tradition very closely. That doesn't make them bad people. The Ayatollah is bad for other reasons. It's not because of he's a religious leader. But I digress. Let's continue.
How does supporting Israel benefit us? Right now, this tiny little country, the size of the state of New Jersey, is fighting our enemies for us and taking out their top military leadership and trying to take out their nuclear capacity. That makes America much safer.
Well, I guess if that's the line that Ted wants to go with, sure. The greatest threat to America is or what do you say? The most pressing threat to America is a nuclear armed Iran. One, Iran is not pursuing nuclear weapons. This is a lie. This is the same kind of lie as Iraq has a nuclear program. They're trying to obtain yellow cake uranium and all this. And honestly, it's a total like just distraction. Iran is part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the JCPOA. Iran has abided by IAEA standards in the past. they, and let's not mince words. I've said it previously in another video. Israel is not part of the NPT or the JCPOA. And then further, and Scott Horton covers this pretty well. With the JCPOA, which is the agreement, it's basically the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. It's a nuclear agreement. It's the Iranian nuclear deal, basically. Basically between the U.S. and several different European nations. It basically in 2015, just kind of broad strokes, the JCPOA was basically limiting their nuclear plan, basically, and it was part of the deal was if the United States backed out, certain provisions of the JCPOA would no longer be applicable to Iran, and it was intended to stop Iran from enriching uranium beyond their current capacity and prevent the development of nuclear weapons, and it would and in exchange Iran would see a reduction in sanctions. Trump pulled us out of that, and now a lot of people, and Ted Cruz says it here, he vehemently disagrees. He and a bunch of Republicans vehemently disagree with Obama getting us into that deal with Iran, when the entire stated goal of the deal was to limit Iran from developing nuclear weapons, regardless of the part that Iran doesn't want to develop nuclear weapons. They have said it multiple times, and as I said previously, the Ayatollah issued a fatwa basically prohibiting Iran from developing or using nuclear weapons. And so really this is the whole idea, and I said it in the other video, so you can go back and watch that, but it bears repeating again, because it is that important, that it's called latent deterrence. It's Iranian nuclear or I guess a uranium enrichment to the point that it is beyond medical, beyond civilian peaceful power production. It is latent deterrence. So they get to 60%. You need 90% enrichment to achieve weapons grade nuclear material. Iran stopped at 60% and said, we're not going any further. But if you attack us, we could go further. That is latent deterrence. Guaranteed, and I'll say it again, guaranteed if Iran was armed with nuclear weapons, this attack never would have, they never would have attacked. Israel never would have attacked. So there's that. And then here we go again with Ted Cruz and his complete disregard for, he says words matter. Well, here's where words matter.
You know what isolation is? It's just a slur designed to control. I've never been an isolationist. I don't even know what that means.
Okay, Rand Paul is my colleague. Rand is an isolationist.
Okay,
and Tucker, you've become one, and I don't mean it as a slur.
Of course I've not.
You can.
Rand Paul is not an isolationist, non-interventionalist. Big difference, and Ted basically, it is a slur.
Consistently say, you have said, actually, I want to read from your newsletter, because if you ask what an isolationist is, your newsletter a couple of days ago, you wrote, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and we're hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We will see. There are several people in leadership in Iran that will not be coming back, Trump said following the strikes.
Right.
It's worth taking a step back and wondering how any of this helps the United States. We can't think of a single way.
Tucker's newsletter is absolutely right. Attacking Iran is not helping to achieve peace. That's people will say peace through strength. No, bombing the crap out of people, and we'll see this whole there's more. A lot has developed since this interview. I understand that, with the ceasefire and all that. We'll see how that plays out. But it's So anyway, continuing.
Okay. That, to me, is the essence of isolationism. And let me just ask you, when the Ayatollah chants death to America, I believe him. Do you not believe him? Do you think he doesn't mean it when he says death to America?
Well, I think he hates America, for sure.
And
I'm opposed to that.
And do you think he's willing to act on it? It's not just hate America. He also is leading a country and trying to develop a nuclear weapon.
Under certain circumstances, for sure.
He says that he's leading a country to develop nuclear weapons. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, issued her threat assessment back in February that said Iran is not pursuing nuclear weapons. The CIA has said since 2007 Iran is not pursuing nuclear weapons. Ted, you're mistaken here. I'm sorry.
So the question is, do you act in a way that makes that more or less likely? And that's a tough call. It's something that you can debate. One of the ways you shut down debate is by calling people names like isolationists, pretending they're like pro-Nazi or something, or as you did, claiming I'm an anti-Semite. That's not a way to get to a solution or have a rational conversation. That's a way to make people be quiet. And I'm against that.
I am too. I am 100% with him. And then here Ted Cruz really steps in.
Okay, so you topple the regime by whatever means. What happens then? How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah.
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even. You don't know anything about Iran. So actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're.
I know you are, but what am I, Ted? He says, no, you don't know anything about. Ted, you can't say that when you tell Tucker you don't know anything about the country, when you don't know the population, you don't know the demographics. He was correct. They're Shia. They're predominantly Shia, but that's about it. Ted has a very fleeting understanding of Iran. But yeah, so here, let's finish this clip.
They're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help.
So yeah, we did, since this interview, obviously, if you've been paying attention, since this interview, we have been, we have previously carried out attacks on Iran. But so I wanted to, so Tucker just completely destroys Ted Cruz. He broke Ted Cruz's brain. It's hilarious. It's almost sad how Ted Cruz just completely steps in it and continually puts his foot in the mouth. But that's kind of, that's why I lost so much respect for Ted Cruz following this interview, is because Ted just, he comes off as very defensive, a little bit bullying. He accuses Tucker of being an anti-Semite, which I think is really unfair. That's not fair to say, because Tucker's not an anti-Semite. Tucker is just asking questions about why are we backing a foreign government so hard when we have problems here in our own country. That's what everybody's been saying. That's the issue at hand. There's an overwhelming majority of people who do not want war with Iran. Now, whether this all comes out, the logic doesn't track. Like the whole idea of, and I've kind of backed away from support for Donald Trump because of this. Because it's basically like we drop bombs on them and then we say, come to the negotiation table. That's like walking up to somebody that you've been verbally arguing with for a few weeks, and then you just walk up and you punch them right in the face as hard as you can. And you go, all right, we need to talk about making peace. Well, you just hit him. You just hit him. That's how now you're demanding peace, and then you say, if you don't make peace right now, I'm going to kick you in the jaw. I'm going to pull out a baseball bat and start beating you relentlessly until you make peace. That is not how, that strong arm mentality, that is not how things are done, and it's going to, I fear it has the potential to lead to a worse outcome. Whereas I've been saying this for a while now. I think that Netanyahu sabotaged any chance of peace by attacking Iran while we were trying to have this dialogue that, yeah, it got stuck in the mud a little bit, from my understanding, but we were at least trying to have a dialogue. And again, this whole idea of a nuclear threat from Iran, I think, is just complete malarkey. Before the Israeli attack on Iran, I really don't think Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons. The DNI doesn't think that Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons. And so it's really unfortunate, this whole thing. So I'm glad that I guarantee you now, one of the comments was great on the YouTube video. I really don't think any more AIPAC recipients are going to be allowed to talk to Tucker Carlson, because after this, Tucker just annihilated him. And yeah, he was a couple of times he was kind of condescending, but he's asking tough questions, and Ted just really stepped in it and really did a bad job. And I honestly think that, I lost a lot of respect for Ted Cruz. It's really disappointing, because I used to like Ted Cruz. I used to think he was a pretty stand-up dude, but he is really, the whole pro-Israel Zionist thing, that just that's a turn off. And then taking it a step further and just attacking Tucker and downplaying AIPAC, I think it really is kind of sad to see. So good on Tucker. I like Tucker. I appreciate him. But that's all I've got for today. I thank you all for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe. That whole thing helps me out. And if you have a comment on this, if you watched the interview, if you haven't, please do. It's a pretty good interview. It really does egg on the face for Ted Cruz. They talk about more stuff. There was that clip alluded to it. Ted goes into this thing about some Iranian plot to kill President Trump. I don't know how much validity I can give that. It seems a little kind of whatever. But and then they talk a little bit about Russia and Ukraine. I didn't have time to delve into that, but maybe another time, unless you want me to, I will delve into that. But so anyway, I appreciate the comments and the interaction, and thank you all for tuning in, and I will catch you guys on the next one. All right, have a good one.